Hello everyone, my name is Zeotrex, and today we're going to do another theory/essay kind of video. Today we are going to discuss, could Robert Pattinson's Batman work in the DCU by James Gunn? We'll go over the possibility of it happening in the end, if the darker, grungier Batman from the Batman could work in the much more brightful, brightful DCU. And whether or not they would merge. So let's just get right off the bat here. So I don't think it's gonna happen. If it most likely, if likely at all, is not gonna happen because, well, Gunn has stated multiple times. I mean, Gunn's just been honest. He's been like, yeah, no, it's not happening. And Reeves wants to keep it in its own separate universe. That I would like for that to be in its own separate universe. But I've also not opposed to a possible merge happening, but I don't think a merge will happen. I do think we will get a new Batman for the DCU, but I will talk about why I do think Robert Pattinson could work in the DCU. So, at the time of filming and writing this, Clayface is currently in the middle of production. So, we're starting to see what this universe's Gotham is shaping up to look like. We are starting to get those glimpses of what they are doing. It's not really enough to fully shoo off the possibility, but what we are seeing so far is kind of only proving, but there is one bit of evidence that does kind of put it in the ground, and that is the map. These are two completely different maps from, like, the Reeves map and the DCU Gotham map. These are two different maps. I don't think, like, two different looks of Gotham. I don't think it's going to happen because of this. But a lot of people are noticing certain things, like how they are making these streets wet. Apparently it's the same Gotham PD, GCPD tagline. There are certain buildings that, some people point out are from the Batman. And while I do think this could all be coincidental, I also do think this does do a job in helping the possibility that it is going to merge at one point. So the main argument about why Pattinson couldn't work in the DCU is that these are two stylistically different movies and two different tones. My main argument for that, So Batman as a character, I don't want to say this as a wrong way, has been a little bit more on the grungy side, a bit more on the noir, darkish, kind of not grounded, but definitely a much more serious character, he does have those lighthearted and colorful moments, but he has mostly been a grungier character. I don't want to say edgy, but he definitely has been a darker toned character. Whereas Superman, for example, for most of his career, he has been the light and zany Superman. Let's compare these two stories, for example. So let's compare these two stories real quick. All right, Batman: The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Superman by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Fantastic story. I chose these two because they are both by Jeff Loeb with Tim Sale, the GOAT, rest in peace. And so, Batman: The Long Halloween is a detective noir. It is a much more darker, look at that art, it's much more noirish, a bit darker, a bit more serious. It doesn't really have lightheartedness, and it does play it very seriously. Superman for All Seasons, however, that tone is a lot different. It's a lot more upbeat, a lot more colorful. It uses a lot more super elements because it's Superman. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. A lot more colorful. Batman: The Long Halloween is a story about Batman going through the murders. He's literally investigating murders. There is blood, there is gore in there. Not full-on gore, but it is a much darker book, like I mentioned. And Superman here is a much cozier kind of home feeling, heartwarming story that invokes a different feeling. And this just proves that these two characters have always had a sort of tonal clash. Again, I just think this argument is stupid because comic book. I mean, James Gunn himself did say that a lot of the comic book media in the DCU will be tonally different. Each film will be a different tone. For example, Clayface is going to be a horror film, for example, and Swamp Thing, which I wonder whatever happened to that. We haven't heard anything about that. Swamp Thing, directed by James Mangold, will be a horror film as well. But compare that to something like Peacemaker, which is mostly a comedy, or Superman, which is mostly a lighthearted family film, right? There are going to be these tonal differences. So what if this version of Batman has a different style compared to Superman? You know, they're two different directors and whatnot. And even then, I mean, are we gonna say that Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil show, isn't in the same universe as Spider-Man? I mean, he is. That's undeniable now. And I mean, compare the Incredible Hulk from 2008 to, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You know, those are the same universe. So I don't get this argument of that Robert Pattinson's Batman wouldn't work aesthetically in it, you know? And even then, these two movies, the Batman and Superman, both work on a really, like, thematic level. They are both in their early years. They're both in their respective... They've existed for a few years. 2 for Batman, 3 for Superman. Both are growing to learn to be the characters that we know. Superman, you know, he's still learning. He is still learning how to be Superman and is still struggling on that conflict. Batman, I mean, like Superman, learns to accept the more human sides of him and realize that you get the point. Batman grows from being a vigilante, just filled with vengeance, filled with rage and hatred, to someone who realizes these guys need hope. These guys need someone to look up to. And I can't be constantly beating people up because people will be scared of me. It will have a bad influence on people, so I need to change how I am. You know, another argument that I see a lot of people saying is the Batman is grounded and realistic. This is something that I do think is a good reason as to why it wouldn't work, because it's supposed to be a grounded, realistic version, which, but if a merge were to happen, I think it could be easily retconned, or even then, if a merge didn't happen, I think it's so easy to change your mind on it. Because, I mean, anything in the first movie and the Penguin TV series, anything used in there doesn't really fully rule out that this could eventually have fantastical elements. Riddler, Penguin, and Catwoman are people who could exist in real life. Penguin's a mob boss, Catwoman's a thief, and Riddler, I mean, they did change how Riddler was a bit in this movie, but I don't even think that could rule out the possibility of this being like a fantastical universe. I mean, again, aesthetically, I think it could really work. So, I mean, it's not like they introduce a villain who is known for having a pit that will bring him back to life, only for later in life, let me turn this light off again so I get red lights, only for him to just be a guy who, oh, there's like multiple of me, or someone who uses a special chemical substance to be really strong, and it's just like, oh no, he just needs that mask to live now. I don't like the Nolan films that much. Dark Knight's good, but I'm very critical of it. Batman does realistic eyes some elements. That's not even a word, that's just something. But it grounds certain elements such as his wingsuits and Batmobile, and, you know, does keep things fairly realistic, which again, I do think is a good, strong argument as to why it can't happen, but I also do think they can retcon this later in the future. Again, these films work so much on a thematic level. These two characters do work together. I mean, that don't count. Because that's not the corn sweat figure. I've been trying to get that for a bit. But I do genuinely believe that these two could work because, again, their films are very similar on a thematic level. I mean, I'm waiting for it to come to Max or release on 4K before I do like a double feature. But I mean, even visually, they have a lot of similarities, such as that scene of Batman and Selina. Cut that in with the scene with Clark and Lois, The New Adventures of Superman, or the bat signal raising and the Superman flag raising. They have similarities. Now let's dive into all the reasons as to why Pattinson will not join the DCU. First of all, we kind of saw the DCU's Batman in Creature Commandos. Now, Gunn did state that this was written before he took over and it would be a reboot, and that was intended to be Affleck, which you can kind of see in the bulkier build. Hence, yeah, again. But this whole idea here does give a central version of Batman. Again, the map from Clayface is different from the map from the Batman. And also, Batman in Creature Commandos, I think the implication there in the way that Dr. Philosopherus is reacting, it's like this is someone who's been around for a long time. This leaves us to one final point, kind of. I think I have something else to say after this, and that is Brave and the Bold. We really don't know much about this movie other than Robin's going to be in it, and it's going to be Damian. Andy is set to direct, but I do think he is going to get booted off of it. My bet is that Brave and Bold will still happen. We will still get Brave and Bold, but Andy Muschietti won't direct it. Reeves will produce it, which I think he is going to be involved at the DCU somehow. I think Matt Reeves is a producer for Clayface, right? Or is that old news? Because Clayface was something we knew about for a bit, like directed by, I think, Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan was set to direct, and then they got someone else. No, who was it? I don't remember, but again, my bet is that Brave and Bold will still happen, but we will get a different director. I don't think Andy's going to be on it anymore. And I'm hoping that Gunn would I hope Gunn would direct this version. Now, this is all unscripted, what I'm about to say here, because it has happened after I wrote the script. Man of Tomorrow. Man of Tomorrow will release the same year as the Batman Part 2. Could this mean something? It could be a coincidence. It could be some nice synergy. Not synergy. Kind of just like some nice energy. Like, hey, we have a Batman and a Superman and a Spider-Man film, but that's Miles. And may not even be out in 2027. We have those two heroes coming out together. That would be pretty cool. I do think there could be a reason as to why the two will. Again, so my whole thing here is, I think, my prediction was that we are going to see Reeves finish his trilogy. That may take a while. That may take a long time. Batman Part 2 took a really long time and took a bit to be written. And I do think it's gonna be a long time to even think about Batman Part 3. And then we will see Brave and Bold happen. But it is also possible that Brave and Bold comes out in between the two films. At this point, we just wait and see. Will Pattinson join the DCU? Not likely, but if it does, will I be open to it? I am definitely open to it. I will love it. But I'm also, a lot of this does make me more excited for what the DCU Batman will look like. Because, I mean, if Pattinson and Corn Sweat look great together, God, imagine who they get as DCU Batman. That's gonna probably look great. You know, Alan Ritchson, I'm not opposed to him becoming Batman. I would prefer if he was Aquaman, but yeah, some people suggest Brandon Skillarn. Don't really know. Jake Gyllenhaal and Jensen Ackles. I used to be a Jensen Ackles guy, but I don't think he'd. I'm not too sure of him as Batman. Anson Mount, I'm throwing that out there as a suggestion. Too old, maybe. That's the thing. I haven't really heard a Batman fan cast that I like. Anyways, let me know who you guys want to play DCU Batman, and let me know your guys' thoughts on the situation. Kind of reiterating what I'm saying here. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love to see it. These two movies have a lot of similarities and are really nice complementary pieces thematically on what they do to the characters. I think I said it in the review, but I said that Superman is what the Batman was to Batman films. You know, this was, yeah. So, anyways, until then, see ya. This ain't a review, but